Hello, I am Gerald Buffington, and this is my assignment submission for section 5.5 on the IT235 module. Here's an overview of what we have to do, and I will not read it because we are all aware of it. If anyone wants to look at it and pause, they're welcome to. And here are the instructions that we have to do. Okay. Well, the first thing that I have to do is I have to open up my virtual machine. So I'm going to do that. I'm in Azure. I'm going to check on my virtual machine and it is running. Okay, the start is disabled, stop is enabled, and the word says running. So we're good there. So now I'm going to go to my RDP file and I am going to make a connection to the VM. And I'm being asked for my credentials. And here I am connecting. I've got two monitors on the go here, so that's why you can see my screen is a little bit different than most. Okay, we are now on the running on the remote desktop, as you can see. Okay, now I'm going to open a PowerShell window. I'm going to go down here to the top, and I'm going to type in PowerShell. And I'm going to right-click on it, and because I want to run it as an administrator. There are some times when running as administrator just makes life so much easier. So while I'm in here, I'm going to do a check of the list of the network ports from the command line interface. So I'm going to use the command netstat -o. And here we see a list of the ports that are being used. We can see that they have the local IP address as well as the port number. So the port number here is after the colon. The foreign addresses, we really don't care. And the state is established. And here's the processes that are using them. Okay, so we could actually see what the commands are. We could do get process and what the ID is. And the process ID is number 484. And we can see that that is the LSASS process that is running using port 389. We're going to look at that in a minute, but right now we're going to do a PowerShell command to show the active connections. Okay, so in the PowerShell we do get TCP, get net TCP connection. And we are going to look at that, but we only want some of them. We want the state established. Okay. And the command net TCP connection is not case sensitive. So get is not net TCP connection is not case sensitive. Okay, so and here we have all of the connections, and we can see that they are the same ones as up above. It's just a different way of doing it. The PowerShell commands are just a little bit nicer to work with. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do we've already done the get process for 484, and we saw that was here we'll do it again. We saw that was the LSASS service. Okay. And we're going to take a look and see what that is. So here I have done a Google search. What is the LASS service? And I spelled that wrong. So I'm going to do that just a little bit more. It is called LSASS. So we'll do that. What is the LSASS Windows service? And it's a local security service authorization service. It's the core of the Windows processes that handle security and user login on a computer, including verify using credentials, passwords, and da 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 da. Okay, so that is what LSASS is, and it is running on our computer. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to see another one. We're going to see get process minus ID, and we are going to take a look for 3389 because we know what that is. That is our remote desktop. Oops, I typed in the port number. My apologies. 3389 is a port number. The process is 1108. And it's SVC host. And we'll just see what SVC host is. I will do a Google search for it and pop it right up. So here I've done a search. What is the Microsoft SVC host? And it is an essential process called service host that hosts and runs many Windows services. Okay, and we know that it runs the remote desktop. Okay, and here we can see more services added. I've read this myself. You can read it over yourself if you so choose. Okay, so we'll minimize that guy. The next thing we want to do is we've looked at processes, and now we want to see what what some of the services are. So we will do a command line, the old CLI test uh, command of net start. And this shows us, I'll scroll up to the top. This shows us these Windows services are started. And you can see a whole bunch of them. DNS, DHCP, okay? A whole bunch are running. Okay, so those are all running. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to do the same thing in a different command line task called task list. Task list, and we are going to show services. Okay, these are the services that are running. So there are many things that are running that are not services, but these here are the services. And notice the process IDs. The lower process IDs are started first, and they get assigned process IDs as they're running. SVC host we see here has many different things that he is running. Okay, so and that is what we expected to see. Now we're going to use a PowerShell command here and get service. We're going to do a get service command, and we're going to do a little bit of a we're going to do a filter on that. We're going to look for the objects that are the returned lines. And this is just a standard notation where the individual object and the field name of status equals running. Okay? And we do a close bracket there and see which services are running. And there is the name of all of the running services. That is great. Okay, now we're going to do it from the GUI, okay, to see which services are running. So we're just going to go over here to the Service Manager. We're going to go into Tools, and we're going to go into Services. And we can see, I'm going to maximize this here. We can see that there are a lot of services are running. Might have to change the width of some of these columns. Okay. And I'm going to see if there is anything else in here. See if they have the owner ID logged on as. Nope, they don't show the PIDs in there. Okay. And then so I'm going to get out of this here. You can see all those services. And I'm going to go to the resource monitor. I'm going to go, there's two ways of getting that. I can go in here and I can do the resource monitor, or I could get it from the start bar. So here's the resource monitor. And it is showing me everything that is running. Okay. If I want to see a little more information, I can sort it by the PID just by clicking on this column. And here are the process IDs. And we could use that when we were looking for our host number 848 or 484 from the PIDs. All right, so we're going to close this window down. The next thing that we are going to do is that we are going to look at our network communications services. I'm just going to do a clear command here to clear my screen. And we're going to do a PowerShell command in here of get minus service. And I'm going to filter that through where object, and I'm doing the standard notation to show that it is a repeat case. There is the individual object, and the field for the display name is like, and because I want to do a whole bunch of things, I may want maybe network in the middle, maybe at the end. So here we are, where the display name is like network. And here we see we get a list of services that are running and some that are stopped. So I'm going to repeat that command again by pressing the up arrow, and I'm going to do another filter on it. I'm going to do a filter it through where object, and you probably guessed this one. I am looking at the status. There is a field name status. Where object, so anything on the line, status, equal, use the EQ, and I, in quotes, running. And we finish off that. And we're going to see the running services. All right. So this here, so we're asked to look at two services that we that we were to do a little bit of checking up on. Okay, so I want to see the NCB service. So I'm going to do a Google search on him. I'm going to pop up the Google window on that. And here is my Google result. What is the NCB service? And here we go. It is a Windows service that brokers connections to Microsoft Store apps to receive internet notifications. Okay, network connection broker. And we can see more here. And so anyone who uses a Microsoft Store, this service should be running. All right, so that is one. Now we're going to look at a second one called, and I'll just close this window. We want to look at a second one that kind of caught my attention. It was the WDNIS service, because that is a Microsoft Defender antivirus network. I'm going to do a quick Google search on him just to see what he says. So here I'm going to do, what is that service? And here is the result. It is a Microsoft Defender antivirus network inspection service. Okay, and that is our antivirus on the network. Here we can see more. Okay, so we're not going to fill the video with that, so I'm going to get out of this here window. And the next thing that we have to do is to describe two of the networks. Oh, sorry. The next thing that we have to do is to create a firewall rule that allows TCP traffic inbound and outbound. Well, I'm going to get rid of my PowerShell window here. And I'm going to go over here to my server manager. And I'm going to go into Tools. And I'm going to go into Windows Defender Firewall. There we go, and Advanced Security. Okay. And here we are. And I'm going to make that full screen just because I can. And here are I'm going to look. Here are the inbound rules. Okay. There are all of the inbound rules. Well, I want to create a new rule. Okay. I want an inbound and an outbound rule. And I'm going to make one of each. So an inbound, I'm going to make a new rule. And what type of rule it is? It's a port rule. Okay. Next, it's TCP. Yeah, specific port 50,000. Next. Come on, I press next. Allow the connection that are protected with IPsec, as well as those that are not. You know what? We're going to let this full open, wide open, because I'm just doing it for a test, and I want to make sure that I can get in. And I can secure it with a login later after I'm done. So I'm just going to leave it like that. This is apply, domain, private, and public, wide open. And the name is inbound port 50,000. And the same thing as the description. And if I just cut and paste that, I will have it both spelled right or both spelled wrong. And finish. And here we can see that there is now a rule there. I'm going to do the outbound port and do the same thing for it. New rule. What type? It's a port rule. We're going to click on port. Next. TCP. Specific port 50,000. Next. I'm going to allow this connection. Everything there, yeah. Next. Name outbound. There we go. That's the outbound port. I'm going to copy that and put it down here. And that we're going to finish that. And so here we have our inbound port rule and our outbound port rule. Okay. Now, if we ever wanted to disable them, all that we would have to do is go over to here, select the rule, and say disable the rule. And you can see that he no longer has a checkbox beside him. And the inbound rule, the same thing. I've selected him, and I will disable the rule. And he is now disabled. That's how we can disable or enable the rules. I click on this one here, I can now enable it. And this one here, the outbound, I can enable it. Okay, so that is how that is done. They are now enabled. Because they're wide open, I really don't want them there. I'm going to disable them right now, just because It's safer that way. So now we're going to get out of this here guy, out of the Windows Defender Firewall and Security interface. Now we're going to create a scheduled task to check for Windows Update daily. Okay, and in the we can get to the task scheduler by down here, but I want to make sure that I am running with administrator property. So I'm going to do task scheduler. I just start typing the name and it pops up. Right click on this and run as administrator. And here I am. I'm running as administrator. Okay. Now we're supposed to create a scheduled task to check for Windows daily updates. But we haven't been given a whole lot of instruction. Okay. Because do we want to perform the check only to see if updates are available? Or do we want to run them? So seeing that we have a little bit of choice, I will do whichever one I feel like, which is actually running the Windows update, running the update and doing the update. So under here, under the Schedule Task Library, I click on the arrow there, Microsoft opens up, click on that, click on Windows, and we can see that there's a whole lot of selections down here. Way near the bottom of the list, we have something called Windows Update. So we're going to click on him, and we can see all information about the Windows Update under the Task Scheduler. And so now we're going to expand some of these columns because I just want to see what they say. Okay, there we go. Okay, the name. Oh yeah, I made the name disappear. I will make it come back. Click on here and click on here. There it is. Okay, so the scheduled task. So here's a scheduled task that does Windows Update. This task is used to start the Windows Update service when needed to perform scheduled operations such as scans. Okay, so what are the triggers? Well, the triggers here. It was a one-time trigger, and the other ones are all disabled. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into properties over here on the right-hand side, and we are going to use this to create a new trigger. Okay, and the new trigger we're going to say new trigger, it's daily, starting from today, starting at, oh, I like to have 2 a.m. 2, click over here, 00. If it's off by a few seconds, I don't care. 2 a.m. Every day at 2 a.m. run this task. Okay, and it doesn't expire and it is enabled. Okay, so here it is. Actions, start a program, and this here is this service is service.exe. You're starting it, and it's running the Windows Update service. Conditions, okay, pretty cool. Settings, run as soon as possible after it's missed a schedule. Stop if it runs longer than 2 hours. And history. Oh, there's a history. Okay, well, I'm happy with that. We're just going to click on OK. And it is not responding. Okay, the task scheduled service is not responding. Well, I'm going to go and verify that. I'm going to go into PowerShell, and I am going to do a command of get service, and the name is schedule. and the service that is running. So here we know that the service is indeed running. Okay, so task schedule is not available. So we'll attempt to reconnect to it. Okay, that was a little bit of a warning. We're good with that. And so now we're going to close this window and we are done. And we are done. Thank you so much.